I'm going to come to you first on this one, David. I mean, I find it a bit surreal that Elon Musk is even bothering to put out a tweet about farmers in East Anglia, but what do you make of that?
I think it's personal. It's personal now, because I think some people in the Labour government said they need to deal with Elon Musk and as him running X and allowing free speech that they don't like, and also that goes with people in the Labour Party going over to campaign for Kamala Harris in the USA. So Labour are getting involved and interfering in the USA. So I think Elon Musk is thinking, well, I'm going to talk about what's happening in the UK as well. But actually, on this issue, he's absolutely right. I mean, what Labour has done in this inheritance tax rate on farmers is going to be absolutely disastrous for family farms that have been passed down through the generations. And for the first time, family farms are going to have to sell some of their land or all of their land to pay inheritance tax bills when someone dies. I mean, it's an absolutely horrible thing, and it's going to decimate the agricultural sector. And we need to realise you can't attack farmers like this. You've got to look after your farmers, otherwise we lose our food security, and we're even less self-sufficient in food than we are at the moment.
It does seem a bit weird, Paul, to pick on farmers when, our self-sufficient in fresh vegetables is the lowest since records began in 1988.
Well, let's unpack this. First of all, 3/4 of the farmers are unaffected, family farmers are unaffected. It's only the very richest. Some of those are the very richest landowners in the country who aren't really farmers at all, but they turned over some of their estate to farms for the tax break. So we're talking about some of the very richest people with the most assets who can afford a little bit extra to help fund our national health service. Elon Musk needs to butt out, I would say. I don't know why he's interfering in our election. He's doing a good job of interfering in the American election, but he's supposed to be a businessman, not a politician. So he needs to get out of the way. And also, I would say, if the militant farming organisations want to start disrupting the food supply, then I think the public will view that as a vested interest, stopping the food getting into the supermarket.
And the National Farmers Union have said that, a typical farm in England is 220 acres with a value of more than 2 million. And that's even before accounting for the equipment and the farm buildings. So these are just average farms by families. They're not owned by rich landowners. These are just ordinary farms. The majority of them, 70,000 farms in England are worth more than $1 million. They're not all
you're
landed
presenting
gentry.
it as though this is some sort of, Soviet, trying to collectivise the farms and drive them off the land. They're going to still have the farms. They're just going to have to pay a bit more tax to fund the National Health Service, which is what people voted for in July. So
what if they can't afford to pay that tax? That means selling their land off and therefore decreasing what food they can produce.
I mean, it's only the ones valued over $1 million, I'm right in saying, I think.
Which is most farms in this country.
So that is a fairly significant asset, I think. Most people don't have £1 million worth of assets.
Well, it's not £1 million worth of cash just sitting there, is it? I mean, it's the land and the equipment.
Assets, and they can plan for this. And I think, it's not unreasonable to ask the very richest to donate a little bit more to make the country better.
David, would you say farmers are the very richest?
Well, no. I mean, they have assets here, but this is land. It's not liquid assets, so they can go to their bank account and say, oh, OK, I've got an inheritance tax bill. I'm going to take this out of my bank account and pay the government. This is actually going to destroy their business. And many, say 70,000 farms, a lot of them medium and obviously larger size farms, but they produce food. And this is going to decimate farms and farmers, and it's absolutely wrong. And the one thing also with this is that they said they weren't going to do this before they were elected. And then they've changed their mind in the budget and they put something in that they said they weren't going to do.
There is some early areas of the manifesto that haven't really been stuck to, isn't there, though, Paul?
Well, I think the problem was we came into government, we opened those books, and we'd been lied to about what the figures really were, and ministers had covered it up. That's why they went for an early election, so they couldn't have to face the realities that they created. And Rachel Reeves and Darren Jones and the rest just looked at these numbers and said, right, we need a really big budget to fix the foundations. It's a big tax hike, we were saying that, but it's to go into the health service, special educational needs, mending the potholes, putting more police on the streets, the things that people actually want. GB News viewers want those things. Many of them voted for it, and that's what this budget was all about, delivering on the promises.
A lot of the things that they said they're going to spend it on are not things that GB News viewers want. A lot of nonsense. £3 billion per year to Ukraine to keep that war going. Carbon capture and storage, which is absolute nonsense.
If we lose to the Russians... Then
we shouldn't be continuing and prolonging this war. We should be de-escalating, as I've said many, many times before.
How do you do that?
This is
into Putin?
well, we should not be sending £3 billion per year to the Zelensky regime and then us, destroying farms and farmers to actually fund that. That's absolutely wrong. We need to be looking after people in this country, workers and farmers and businesses, rather than taking money from them to send to Ukraine or to put into crazy net zero projects like carbon capture and hydrogen infrastructure, which isn't going to produce any extra energy for the country above what we would get from coal or oil or gas if we continue to use that.
Well, I'm horrified what you're saying about caving into Putin. I think that's absolutely outrageous. I think the most important institution in all of our lives right now is the Ukrainian army, and it has to win that war. Otherwise, our geopolitics will be shaped by the fact that dictators can march into other people's countries for the next 40 years.
Well, I mean, this is not actually the reality of the situation. The West actually instigated a coup in 2014 and put in a puppet because they wanted someone who would bring Ukraine into NATO and bring Ukraine into the EU. So this is what happened, and we shouldn't have been supporting an escalation of the war since 2022, under which 1 million people or more have died.
Good heavens. What an astonishing point of view.
We are getting slightly off topic here, but